On. All right, we got that fixed. You were in the Java Cafe. I will update that little tagline there in a minute, but today is Thankful Thursday. I am thankful for each of you that are with us this morning in the Java Cafe. I am excited to have our guest this morning. She is an academic. She's a Black woman. She's a leader and someone that understands community. And we are just excited to bring to you people that are making moves in our city, in our state, and someone that is responsible for the further education of our young people here in this city. We here in Boston, I saw Simmons University and I said, wait, that just doesn't sound right, because we're so used to saying Simmons College, but they now have graduate programs. We're going to hear a lot about their programming, the EDGE program, and what you as a potential student or parents that are working with your young people to decide on education, what the return on investment that the school is making in a young person and your return on investment that you're making to pay for your children's or your education. And so we will give some further commentary about things present that went on yesterday once our President Wooten departs. But do me a favor, hit the share button and invite others to be a part of this conversation. And without further ado, I would like to present to some and introduce to others President Lynn Perry Wooten, who is the president of Simmons University. Let's just make that plain this morning. Simmons University. Right, I had to get it right. As I said, I'll be honest with you. I was looking and I just saw it and I'm like, this seems interesting. But, you know, as a native of Boston, you know, we're just used to saying Simmons College, but that just speaks to the acceleration and the progress that's going on there at Simmons University. And so before we get into that, welcome to the Java Cafe.
Thank you for having me on Thankful Thursday. And I'm cracking up, Jimmy, because we know how we all have those cousins who we still call by the nickname.
Yes.
And even though they're grown. Well, now Simmons College to Simmons University.
But I like how you pulled that together real quick. But before we get into the conversation, I really, when folks come in to the Java Cafe for the first time, I think it's important for people to know not so much the impact of their work, but also know their story, because it informs, I believe, the work that they're doing, and also the message that you're bringing. The audience is better equipped to understand your passion and the drive behind what you do. And so, President Wooten, tell us who you are, a little bit of your journey to be the president in the city where, you know, this area is known for being well academically equipped, and Simmons University is part of that equipment here in this region. So good morning, greet the folks, and tell us a little bit of who you are.
Yeah, good morning, and thank you for letting me tell my story. I often say, you know, my story, your story, our story. So I was thinking as I was preparing for this interview that I actually always wanted to live in Boston. And I grew up in what I call Boston South, Philadelphia, was educated for the most part in the Philadelphia public school systems, and Philadelphia's integration was modeled a lot off of Boston. Knew I was one of those kids, believe it or not, that probably always wanted to be a professor. And so went to college in 1984, historically Black college, then did my MBA at Duke, did my PhD at Michigan, and started my career in academia. and have been a researcher, a scholar, and a teacher. But if you ask me what my calling is, and you hinted at that, Jimmy, my calling is really elevating people to be their best self, to show up and be their best self, and to answer their calling so they can make a world a better place. And I see higher education that way. Came from, my mother was a teacher, and my father was a clinical social worker. They were both first generation college students. My father went to college at 14, so he was brilliant. And they really believed in education. So everyone in my family is really believing in education as a way to advance people, to make sure we have an equitable society, for a social justice platform. And I've put a lot also into college. I think I've done every role possible in a college: professor, dean, director, NIH. And more importantly, and some of your viewers might say this, is that I paid a lot of tuition for my two children. So the ROI on college is very important to me.
It's interesting because growing up, we were always taught after high school, go to college. Then there was a period, and I remember statements like, there are people working at McDonald's that have more advanced degrees than a high school diploma and whatnot. And I think as a society, the importance and the recognition of the return on investment of education, I think that may have slipped away. We understand that, 4-year university may not be the path for everyone. There are trade schools. Tech has, I believe, been a big influence. And so it's great to hear that there is this emphasis back on the importance of secondary education. Your thoughts there, just on sort of the observation of that shift?
Yeah, the pendulum has definitely shifted, and people are questioning college now. And the reason they're questioning them is because college is expensive. And so if you're a parent, you're a mentor, you're a student, you have to ask yourself, what type of education investment am I going to make post high school? And in particular at Simmons, we've always been committed for 125 years of educating people for their life works. That is that you not only get a Simmons degree, but we think about your career trajectory. And whatever things you do, you talked about vocational, it could be the military, it could be tech, it could be the Job Corps, thinking about what you want to do over your life. I tell my students are going to live to be 100. You think about the life trajectory. You're going to have many jobs. And so that investment you make in your late teens and early 20s is so important. How much you want to spend on tuition, what type of career you want to do, and if the university has the right culture for you to thrive. They're all different types of schools. Boston is this uber college town. We have all different types of colleges, and in all of New England. And so it's finding the place that you're going to thrive, that's going to support you and put you on that life trajectory are so important.
It is.
I mean, definitely. That's why I love my work. Because, there's very few industries where I get to help adolescents transform into adults.
Outside of like youth development and elementary and middle school education, it is an investment of time. It's an investment of passion. It's an investment of knowledge. And as you mentioned, let's talk a little bit about Simmons intentionality. There are a lot of schools here in Boston. This is a mecca of academics and education. Yeah. And so is there programming? Is there staff? What sort of dedication has Simmons made specifically? And let's get in a little bit, it's such a popular term right now, DEI, those marginalized communities. Is there programming or staff or systems in place with intentionality to bring the most marginalized communities into that trajectory of their career path?
Yeah. Right. I want to start with, we're 125 years. We've been in Boston for 125 years, Jimmy. And I say that our value proposition is around the 4 L's: our Boston location.
Okay.
The way we do learning is the second L. And then the leadership development work that we do and educating people for their life works. And that's what we do. Now, John Simmons, many people don't know who John Simmons was. He made his money because he was the first kind of Renaissance man to come up with the ready-made suit. Before John Simmons, men had to have their suits tailored. And so his claim to fame was, he was Men's Warehouse 125 years ago. And so he left his bequest so that women could get an education to make a livelihood. He wanted women not only to be educated in the liberal arts, but a professional degree so that they could have their own money and be empowered. So let's fast forward 125 years
Wait,
and look at
hold
the
on, hold on.
Simmons.
Before we fast forward, let's just name the equity there. This man, Men's Warehouse, 125 years ago, off of his investment, men's suits, ready-made suits. First of all, thank God for John Simmons, because I didn't know, because can't always afford a custom tailor-made suit. Off of men's suits, he dedicated and bequests for women. Because at one point, was it Simmons or Wheelock that was a women's college at one point?
It's always been on the undergraduate level for students who identify as women, and historically Wheelock was too. Now, women's colleges, let's talk about that. At the peak, there were 250. There are only 30 of us left. And in we're the only women's college in Boston. The rest of them are outside of Boston, but Boston proper, we're the only women's college.
And let's be specific. Undergraduate is for those that identify as women, and then graduate is across the spectrum.
Graduate programs are co-ed, but about 70% for people who identify as women.
Okay. So let's go back to John Simmons and that 125 history and the intentionality Simmons is doing for the most marginalized communities.
So let's go now to 2024. When you look at our demographics, we are talking about 33% low income to moderate income. So we have lots of Pell eligible students. We are out there doing the work so that people can have economic mobility. We are diverse in a large percentage of students of color and a large first gen. You know, we have veterans. We think about gender and sexuality diversity. We think about religion diversity. Simmons is that place where every day we seek to create this inclusive culture where people from all backgrounds can thrive, achieve economic mobility, shatter those glass and concrete ceilings that people from those marginalized groups have. That's what we do at Simmons. And then we want people to be leaders in their professions.
How important is, I alluded to a few moments ago that, you know, as a society with trade, tech, and things like that, that it does seem that we've gotten away from this emphasis and intentionality about encouraging our young people. Let's specifically talk about women in very interesting times, and let's talk about women of color in these very interesting times. If you had the ability to speak to young women across the country about coming to Simmons and the importance of education and the 4 L's, what is it that you would say to them?
Yeah, I would say to them, the earlier you can invest in your education and yourself, you're going to be better able to have economic mobility. You're going to be on a higher career trajectory. You're going to be able to give back to your community, and you're going to be able to craft that personal life that you want. And at Simmons, we do that because we have excellent education programs, but we are very relational. We have mentoring, we have coaching, we have career advising. And so it's the intentionality of how we do that. I would not be where I was if I didn't attend another institution that invested those same things in me. I was able to go to a historically Black college. They saw my talent. I was an accounting major. They helped me get on the trajectory for graduate school. All of those things were important. It's this notion, Jimmy, that the communities that we come from is we lift as we climb. We invest in the next generation.
If I could ask a clarifying question, when investment in education as early as you can, what does that look like to the 14 or 15-year-old that may chime in and listen, or the auntie that is watching this is going to sit her little niece down or granddaughter down? What are a couple of things that investing, because you talked about, you know, sometimes when we hear the word investment, we think about money. Money does answereth all things, and money makes the world go around. That's true. But what does a holistic
you know, this is a great question. My husband and I often talk about this. And in particular, there are certain cultures we know that from day one, they're preparing and investing people in education. And that's what I try to do with all the young people in my village. And so it starts with making sure you identify the best elementary, middle, and high schools for your children that are going to support them and put them on that trajectory, that you show up every day, be involved in the PTO, you know the teachers. And then when you get to high school from day one in 9th grade, every moment should be thinking about, and you can ask my kids about what the next step is. Okay, Are they taking the academic relevant classes for what they want to do? Do you know the counselors? Have you started thinking about where are the free test preps to go? Are they developing the good study skills? There are tons of free tours on college campuses. There are excellent summer programs in Boston. It's all of these things of having this checklist. Like I said, the regular school year, the summer year, the test prep, starting to identify colleges now. You can do virtual tours, but we have to be intentional as a community, right? About really this notion of, because people don't want to see us succeed, right? There are people out there who don't want to see us succeed.
Yes, ma'am.
And so I think about education as a chess move. How can I be one step forward? If your child's not doing well in the class, okay, am I going to get a tutor for math? Am I going to get a tutor for English? What are those community organizations that are doing college tours, that are doing college preps? Boston is a resource-rich town. The other thing I encourage people is the public library. I sit on Boston Public Library, has great things that students can do. Using the museum. As I said, I grew up in Boston, South Philadelphia. My mother, every summer, she created, just based in Philadelphia, things we could do, learning activities, thinking about internships, jobs, all of those things. In ninth grade, I encourage students to start thinking about what's your college application and resume is going to look like. I know that there's some free agency in Boston doing free essay coaching that Gary Bailey is working with on my faculty. There are tons of resources here that we can prepare students in our village to be ready for higher education.
I'm not sure if it's doctorate yet, but I just feel inclined to say Dr. Wooten, but President Wooten, Dr. Wooten, it is Dr. Wooten. Okay, awesome. We're going to get ready to take a quick break and let folks know the programming that's going on for next week. But when we come back, I wanted to ask you, if you don't mind, to delve a little bit into, you gave the academic advice, but maybe we can tap a little bit into speaking to parents with that preparation, with consideration of a lot of the things. You know, you mentioned it, there's intentionality about us not succeeding. And sometimes parents have to work 2 and 3 jobs and they're not involved and as involved as they want to be, rather. Let me maintain that. And so on the other side of this break, I would love to hear your advice to parents around supporting their young people. And then just to make sure we cover everything that's going on at Simmons, we'll also share information where folks can get more information about the program and things going on there.
Thanks a lot, Jimmy.
Yes, ma'am. We're going to take this break, folks, and we'll be back with you in just a couple of seconds. Hey, folks, just an overview of our programming for next week, and we'll review that toward the end of the program. And if you're just joining us, we have the awesome opportunity this morning to speak with President Dr. Lynn Perry Wooten, who is the president of Simmons University. For y'all Bostonians, it's not Simmons College anymore, it's Simmons University. And on the earlier end of the commercial, we were talking about advice to young people about what it looks like to prioritize education at an early age. And on this side, I'm asking Dr. Wooten if she would speak to parents and what advice she would give them in supporting young people despite a lot of things and just lifing, as we often say. What is it that you would say to parents and a little bit of community, those sort of community surrogate parents and aunties and folks that make investments in our young people?
You know, you speak to it. It takes a village to raise a child. And probably the best gift that my mother gave me was I had tons of aunties. She shared me with everyone. And I am because of not only her biological sisters, but all of her girlfriends. And so parents need to go in with the mindset that it takes a village. And life happens. People are working jobs. They're busy. They're stressed. They have multiple caretaking roles. And so how are you intentional about your child's education and their trajectory when life happens? You got to identify those people. I often say when I'm talking to leaders, You need a personal board of directors. Well, even in parenting, those people who are going to invest in your children, who are the best teachers who love your children? Who are the counselors? What are those community organizations that can help you? Where are there free tutoring resources, free college prep resources? And so, Google and AI can be your best friends, going to the public library, as I said, but having that village is so important. We all know that we've come from villages and we have to continue them. I think the pandemic's made it harder. The smartphone has made it harder. Sometimes we just need to put the smartphone down. You and I talked early on, I went to church every Sunday. So that was part of the village. They were taking care of me. I was a Girl Scout. There were lots of different things. I had a great college counselor at a public high school. I had teachers who saw my talent. We all need to be wrapping around. So every day, my job is I only have 2 biological children, but thinking about the multitude of people in my community that I can help and share resources with.
I thought you were about to say, I have 2 biological children, but hundreds of adopted children there, at the school. And so just a couple more questions before we get ready to wrap up. You all recently got a new classification.
Yeah.
And a entity is as strong and portrays a philosophy really based on its leadership. And so we definitely got a good purview into who you are and your dedication and passion around education, and your awareness of things that fight the most marginalized communities being educated. And so can we talk about the Carnegie, I believe, leadership?
Carnegie Leadership classification.
Yes. Yep.
We are the inaugural university for that classification, and there were only 25, only one other in New England, and the only women's college. And it's like a good housekeeping seal of approval.
Okay.
It says we are one of the best colleges in the world to do leadership education and leadership for a public purpose across our undergrad and grad programs. If you recall, I said leadership is one of those L's in life works. And so in everything we do, we think about how do we develop people to be leaders in their professions, leaders in their community, servant leaders also. And we do that in particular in thinking about not only the classroom and undergrad, but one of the new innovations that we're excited about is the Simmons Edge. And this goes back to intentionality. Not only investing in the undergrad degree, but we know especially the earlier women can get their graduate degree. So we've divided a whole curriculum that has leadership in it, but not only leadership. Within 5 years, a student can have an undergrad and a grad degree. So you might have an undergrad degree in sociology, and then you can stay and get a master's in social work. And so we've been very intentional to put you early on that trajectory for graduate education, early on that trajectory to be a leadership. We're going to have a master of management, a master of strategic communications, where you can combine that with undergrad. And in 5 years, you come out with 2 degrees. And then, going back to John Simmons, the Renaissance man, and then you go and change the world. Or as Alicia Keys would say, that girl's on fire, right? You go and change the world.
Well, you better go ahead and catch a little preach at the end of this, Dr. Wooten. I mean, it is really inspiring to know that we have, there's yourself. I forgot the sister's name, but there are only in this area that I'm aware of. Jackie Jenkins Scott is transitioning away from Roxbury Community College. There's her, there's you. There's a sister newly at Boston University that I got to meet. Please say her name again.
Yeah. I think is it Melissa?
Okay. I wanted to make sure I'll figure it out at the end to make sure, because it is just awesome with all that's going on to fight your demographic and leadership. We had another Black woman as a president of a university. And so I'm elated to know that not just that you're in there, and, sometimes all skin don't mean kin, but that it's just knowing that you have this passion, life experience, and dedication. It's ingrained. It's like in your blood. You talked about
it's in my blood.
And
it's in my blood. Yep.
We need the transfusion of that energy back into our community, because closing the wealth gap, everything that we know about the statistics and data that talk about those who are college educated, it just brings a different life experience and exposure to the world, and we need that. It's our lives are bigger than the wonderful neighborhoods and communities in which we grew up. There's a whole other big world out there. A lot of issues sometimes, but more good than there is bad.
Yeah, I mean, we need that. Higher education, we know, closes the wealth gap. We have housing challenges here in Boston. It has better health outcomes and longevity. When we think about that, all of those are so important and for well-being.
Overall, on a micro and macro level, I
Right.
wanted to make sure that folks know where they can go get more information. Shout out to Laura from your comms team and those the team. I have to shout out my friend. She may be in the background there, and she can get me later and pinch me when she sees me. But to Latanya, helping and
The
holding,
amazing Latanya Maxwell. Yes. Thank you.
she'll get me later. But if you want more information, I promise this is the last question about the ability to arrive at Simmons and thrive. The hyperlink is hyperlinked. The link is hyperlinked in the comments there, and you can go and get more information. Donna, please tell your girls about, the programming and wonderful things that are going on at Simmons College. Latanya, you should definitely connect with Donna, if not because the young people and the young ladies that she works with, I'm sure, and her daughter can benefit from some of the programming and intention.
Yeah.
Just if it's a tour and it inspires them, even, and I'm sure you would agree, even if they don't land there, as long as they're going somewhere and getting education. Last question. I noticed the sign behind you, Arrive and Thrive. What is that? The theme at Simmons this year? Tell us about it.
Arrive and Thrive is a book that I wrote with 2 co-authors, and one of them runs our Institute for Inclusive Leadership, and it's 7 practices for women who really want to thrive in their leadership. So we're working on a young women's version, but we talk about what does courage look like, and resiliency, and being your authentic self, and being a team player. And so it's a Wall Street Journal bestseller book, and our leadership curriculum infuses a lot of Arrive and Thrive in it. So if you come to Simmons, you get a unique curriculum that was designed just for people who identify as women.
Do they get a free book with a part of
it? If anybody listens to Java with Jimmy, I'm gonna give them a free book if they come to Simmons.
Y'all hear that? If y'all apply, listen, it ain't that far-fetched, Dr. Wooten. If y'all apply, y'all get into Simmons, and you reference somewhere in your little life story paper that the day I heard Dr. Wooten, I decided to go to Simmons, and you mentioned Java with Jimmy, you get a free copy of Arrive and Thrive.
Signed by me, and then delivered by Latanya.
Dr. Wooten, it was a pleasure and very refreshing to have you here for this Thankful Thursday. I'm thankful for you and what you're doing, and seeing an example of I'll give my commentary when you get off the screen. I'll just say, seeing an example of what a Black woman in a job and qualified in leading looks like.
Thank you. And it is a Thankful Thursday. And thank you for being a blessing to the greater Boston community and all you do, Jimmy.
Yes, ma'am. I appreciate it. And shout out to the team there. And folks, even if you don't go to Simmons, go and check out and look up that book, because I'm sure there's some nuggets in there. Dr. Wooten, thank you. Latanya, I'll see you out. Hold on. Anissa said, hold on, adding Simmons to my list.
Thank you, Lisa. And we look forward to seeing you. Latanya's getting a book ready for you.
All right, now. Thank you, Dr. Wooten, and Laura and Latanya and others on the team there as well. Thank you.
Okay. Have a great day, everyone.
You too. Folks, I hope you were inspired maybe to think about going back and furthering your education at Simmons College, at Simmons University. And that just speaks to their progress and everything that's going on there. So it was definitely refreshing to have her to end our week in the Java Cafe this week on this Thankful Thursday. It was definitely a great episode. Shout out to Anissa and the team and everyone behind the scenes here at Java with Jimmy helping out. I'm actually getting ready to rush off of here because I'm in the office today. We have our team meetings. We have a lot of meetings today, quite a few meetings. Internal, a couple of them, so that's fine. But anywho, that's it for us this week. I just wanted to remind you before we get ready to go of next week's programming, and hope that you can join us beginning on Monday. Actually, we have 2 shows on Monday. We have a show at 9 a.m. and 12 noon. And so here's that information right here. We'll be back with you in just a couple of seconds. So I had the screen open, and the good brother Loud Minds is over on Instagram. I really enjoyed the interview. He has an event coming up on August 9th. And so go follow him at Loud Minds on TV on Instagram. Loud Minds on TV, LOUDMINDSON TV on Instagram. That's going on August 9th. Also on August 15th, flyers dropping today. We are doing another recording for Black Java, No Sugar, No Cream. We're very intentional about that segment or that type of programming in the Java Cafe. We are centering Black stories, Black culture, Black education, everything Black, no sugar, no cream. And so our next episode of that will be recorded on August 15th. Our first episode, we had the pleasure of speaking with Covered by Music. We need to check in with them. They were talking about the wonderful programming that they completed just a couple of weeks ago, and they had an awesome showcase and performance with the young people. I actually owe them a reel that I need to get out of capturing everything that went on at that event. And so that's taking place on August 9th with Loud Minds, August 15th, Black Java, and then August 24th, Brother Manny Merville and Everybody Gotta Eat is doing their wonderful big event that they're doing up in Cambridge. I'll post more information about that on all of the social media pages. That's it for me. It is Thursday. We'll see you on Monday at 9 a.m. with our wonderful lineup and guests for next week. I'm excited to have everyone that's coming in. We appreciate Dr. Wooten that came in today. If you're just joining us, please go back and watch this episode from the beginning. On Monday, we have Janae Jasmine Lincolns, who is going to come and speak with us about mind over matter and empowering women in STEM. We just talked to Dr. Wooten about education. Then at 12 noon, for those that are familiar with Chief Parmesan Eiffel, who came in and talked about the wonderful changes that's going on across the state in the area of probation. One of his staff members I met a couple of weeks ago, actually last week, I think. He's a member of his executive team, and he oversees the programming and the outreach. And so Vincent Laurenti is coming in at 12 noon on Monday. And then on Tuesday, we have Lacey Tomlinson that's coming to speak with us from Joyful Support Movement. She is the co-founder. She's going to talk about the work they're doing around joy and using joy to support. And then on Wednesday, as we do every month, we have Mayor Michelle Wu, who is coming in to speak with us on a monthly basis. And we have a lot to check in with her about, namely one thing about the fact that she's going to be a mom again in January, and also some other things that's going on in our city. And the next week, we're going to close out with Arthur Queen, Words That Transform, an interview with Latifah Bryant. She will end out with us on Thankful Thursday. And so we have some wonderful programming lined up for you. Have things scheduled, I think, through the third week in August. We're meeting today and getting things together for the fall. A couple of things coming down the pike. Anissa and the team will be proud of me. I actually put it in our little to-do team space. We're going to go apple picking this fall, and we're going to do a Christmas concert sometime in December as well. So, yes, got some things going on. That's it for me for sure. UCB, y'all get an hour. It's 9:37. We will definitely check in with everyone if there's anything happening major with the election over the weekend. And I'll just say that what 45 did, the debacle of his time with the National Association of Black Journalists yesterday. I'm just going to leave that right there. So, Belinda, hit Anissa and see what's going on. We got things scheduled out in themes, but at least get that in queue and we'll see what's up. And I got the other things. Oh, Saturday, Belinda, thank you. Saturday, I am with Exit Fame, who is celebrating 5 years of recovery. A young man that is putting Boston on the map. And so that will be on social media as well for you to get details about that. All right, I'm off of here so I can get over to the office and meet with the team. Everybody have a wonderful weekend, and we will see you Monday at 9 a.m. Have a great day, everybody, and talk to you soon.